History will show that Sasaki got the save, but those of us who watched the game know the save belonged to Freddie Freeman.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. And when you're there, make sure you use that hashtag Everyday Sully. It helps us find your comments. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Before we get going, talking about a fun night in National League playoff action, let's go over the trivia question. What rookie gave the Mariners 7 surprising innings to win Game 1 of the 1995 ALCS? And Mark Fahey got it correct. Mark Fahey, 2520, is an Everyday Sully, says Bob Walcott, because that year the Mariners had Randy Johnson, who was the best pitcher in the American League. And then they had a parade of Andy Benes's and Tim Belchers and Chris Basios, the guys who had good years before, but weren't really that great that year. And they plowed through all of them to get back against the Yankees, who took the 2-0 lead. We'll get to 2-0 leads in the next segment. And so when they had to use everyone, including Randy Johnson, to win that Game 5 that ended with Edgar Martinez getting the double off of Jack McDowell, they needed to start somebody, and Bob Walcott picked it up and got the win against a tremendous Cleveland team. All right, let's just talk about something here. I said, and I don't have the energy to clip it out. It's been in the podcast before. I said that not only should the Dodgers not use Blake Trienan as a closer, I made the case of DFAing him, at least leaving him off the playoff roster. And I stand by that. I said that several times. I think that he obviously had a tremendous postseason last year, pitched his guts out against the Yankees in the World Series last year. He came back from injury in 2023, but he was terrible this year. He was legitimately terrible. His ERA for the season was over 5. He walked too many, let up too many hits. He was completely ineffective. And the Dodger bullpen down the stretch was a big pile of crap. And he was a big reason for that. The one-time All-Star with the A's in 2018, who helped pitch the Dodgers in the COVID World Series. He wound up getting a save in that World Series. He wound up getting 2 saves he got more postseason saves last year than did regular season saves, was on the mound when Los Angeles clinched the pennant against the New York Mets. I was there and pitched and earned 2 wins and earned one of those wins in the Game 5 finale. He pitched his guts out in that game. But he stinks this year. And yes, I have to put the caveat. He's a major league pitcher, and anyone who pitches in the major leagues, by definition, is a wonderful pitcher. Okay, I got that out of the way. He's not been good. He's not been good. And by the way, he was acquired in I think he was in the Sean Doolittle trade, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I digress. He's just been terrible down the stretch. And I made the case that they should use Sheehan, Sasaki, and Clayton Kershaw as their key relievers out of the bullpen. They used Glasnow the other day. In other words, it doesn't matter who got you there. That's irrelevant. You got to use the best pitchers available. Now, in today's game, Snell was terrific. He only allowed 1 hit. He walked 4. He struck out 9. They lifted him, but this was not a Kevin Cash situation. Sheehan came in. Wasn't great, but he did the job. He pitched 2 innings, only allowed the 1 run, and handed the ball to the 9th inning. And Philadelphia, the stadium was absolutely dead. They had this stunned look on their eyes, as a lot of people, including your pal Sully, thought that the Philadelphia Phillies were the favorite. Say that 3 times fast. I can't even say that 3 times fast. To win the whole kit and also the caboodle. I picked the Phillies last year, but they got punched in the mouth by the Mets. But this year, I thought they were better than LA. I thought they had the pitching, I thought they had the hitting, and just stick with them and turn into a battle of the bullpen. Luzardo pitched terrific, and it was nothing going into the 7th inning. And then the Flying Hernandez's brothers, Teoscar and Kike Hernandez, they did the job. A little squibber brought in the first run. Then up steps Will Smith. He drives in 2 runs. Up steps Shohei Ohtani. Next thing, it's 4-0, and everyone in Philadelphia had that 1,000-yard stare. Even the dude whose face is painted like a baseball, and I feel badly if you paint your face like a baseball and your team doesn't even win. And then what does Dave Roberts do? And I've defended Dave Roberts. I think Dave Roberts is a good manager, but he whiffed here. He brought in Blake Trienan in a save situation. And what did he do? He did exactly what I thought he was going to. I said, this is a huge mistake. This is a huge mistake. And look what happened. He faced 3 batters. All 3 of them got hits. The stadium caught on fire in terms of its electricity. And with that, they almost handed the game to them. And they got the tying run to 3rd. And then a grounder to Tommy Edman. And Edman threw the ball in the dirt. Now, of course, at that point, they had to relieve Trienan because he got as many outs as I did. 0. Vesia did let up a hit, but, pitched all right. And they brought in Sasaki, who, by the way, they should bring in anyway. The announcers are saying, well, they haven't anointed a closer yet. Anoint one. First of all, you don't have to anoint one. Bring in the pitcher who's best for the situation. But if you have to anoint one, Sasaki, boom. There's your closer. There's your effing closer. Or Kershaw. Have that be the great gold watch that his career ends with him closing out games in the postseason. I digress. So Sasaki gets the ground ball. Ground ball, Edman gets it, and he spikes it in the ground. And if Freddie Freeman doesn't do a split and put his foot back on the bag as quickly as he did, that tying run would have come across. The tying run would have come across, and all 3 runs would have been charged to Blake freaking Trienan. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Now, as it turns out, as I said, the postseason is binary. You win or you lose. And Philadelphia can't believe the fact that there is a much larger than 0 chance that not only will they not win the World Series, they may have played their last home game. LA has to split the next 2 games. And Yamamoto is going to pitch. This is when you needed Wheeler, but I'm stunned. I'm stunned that the Phillies, the Dodgers came back on the Teoscar Hernandez homer, and in this one, they took a pitcher's duel, got your 4 runs, and survived Trienan. But here's the deal. Dodgers, you can't pitch Trienan again unless it's the way, like they brought in Luke Weaver yesterday in the Yankee-Toronto game when it was 13-7 with 2 outs in the 9th. That is the only time you can bring him in. This is the time you bring in Trienan when in a regular season game you think, well, I guess we have to bring in a position player to pitch. No, you have that with Trienan. But he can never, ever come in a game that is close. Do you know why? He has shown that he can't do it anymore. That might be harsh. That might be cruel. But life can be harsh and life can be cruel. And everybody, the announcers, I can't remember who was the announcer on the TV broadcast, said that Tommy Edman owes a big steak dinner to Freddie Freeman. Well, guess what? So does Dave Roberts. I guess what I'm saying is Freddie Freeman is going to be eating a lot of steak. All right, this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, FanDuel is great for the many different ways you can play. You can build parlays, try player props, and you can even follow live lines during the game. Always bet against the Jets. It makes watching football more exciting when you got a little more something right in the action. Whether you're a casual fan like I am or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com. Now, right now, as I'm recording this, Milwaukee and Chicago is going on, and I'll cover that when I do segment number 3. But I was listening to a lot of the Yankee podcasts because the Yankees just got their lunch handed to them by the Blue Jays. And yes, I know the Yankees scored 7 runs, but they were scoring 7 runs off of relievers that the Blue Jays would never use in a tight situation. They were just bringing in guys who's like, hey, who wants to tell their grandchildren they played in the playoffs? And that's basically it. Those 7 runs were completely garbage time wins. Garbage time losses. By the way, and some people, I talked about like I would love to see Yasevich go on a little further, but do you know what? Northern Dreamer and a couple other listeners said like, why? The series goes to 5. It'll probably be him pitching. This is not about his individual performance. So you're right. You're right. And Mr. Yo Mama said so said another possible is they want to pull Trey mid-inning so he get the ovation he deserved. Yep. Absolutely right. Yeah, I stand corrected on that. I gave it some thought, and it was the right move. It was the right move. And a lot of the stuff was about how the Yankees are probably going to lose this, that, or the other thing, and there is a certain the Blue Jays are definitely crowing right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in Philadelphia thinking, "Oh my God, how the hell are we down 0-2?" But let me tell you something. There have been instances where teams looked absolutely deflated and it looked like they were completely dead, falling 0-2 in a best of 5 series. And I rooted for, as a native New Englander and a lifelong Red Sox fan, I rooted for 2 of them. But think about like in 2017, Cleveland had a 22-23 game winning streak. They were coming off of a World Series where they were 1 swing away from winning, and they wanted to reverse that. This was their year. They added Edwin Encarnacion, and then they won game 1 against the Yankees, and then a dramatic game 2 comeback. They were up 2-0 going back to Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees, who overachieved that year anyway, just looked like, oh, they're about to have their lunch handed to them. And the Yankees won the final 3 games, including Gregorius hitting home runs off of Kluber in the 5th and deciding game in Cleveland. Now, the Blue Jays, the famous bat flip game by Jose Bautista? Remember that in that series against Texas, the Rangers won the first 2 games in Toronto. They were in Toronto. Game 1, game 2, extra inning, they won and went back to Texas, needing only 1 win at home to make quick work of the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays won the next 2, and then came the bat flip game of 2015. And all anyone remembers of that was the bat flip, and it was a game 5. It was a tight game, back and forth. But the Rangers were in complete dominant control. The Blue Jays were completely crushed heading back to Texas. Texas, we just got to win 1 game at home. Boom. And then look what happened. The Blue Jays went on, and they wound up going all the way to the League Championship Series, where they lost to Kansas City. There have been other instances, like the Giants lost the first 2 games at home to Cincinnati in 2012. And that format was a 2-3 format. So the first 2 games were in San Francisco, and then the next 3 games were in Cincinnati. since they only had to win 1 out of 3 games at home. And a deep fly ball by Scott Rowland looked like it was going to clinch the series for the Reds, but it hooked foul. Giants won game 4, and Buster Posey's grand slam sealed game 5. But going back, the Reds looked like they were in complete control. Heading back, just needed to win 1 game, and there was a swagger. I remember my dad, may he rest in peace, huge San Francisco Giant fan. I remember him really kind of like at the end of game 2 saying, not our year. Just not our year. Turned out to be their year. The Giants won the World Series. In back-to-back, or not 2 out of 3 years, the A's won the first 2 games of the division series and then lost each of the next 3. In 2001, famously, they won game 1 and 2 in New York, and then came back in the famous Jeter flip, and the A's couldn't win the other one. But they were up 2-0 against the Red Sox in 2003, and the Red Sox had already burnt through Pedro Martinez. And so the A's, back-to-back games, one was a walk-off home run by Trot Nixon, and one was a game where they were 4 outs away from winning when David Ortiz doubled off of Keith Folk, who would join the Red Sox later. But I was at game 2 of the 2003 division series in Oakland with my dad, and I was wearing my Red Sox cap. And the Red Sox lost the first game on the walk-off bunt, and then Tim Wakefield got clobbered in game 2. And as I was walking, all the A's fans were giving me crap. I had my Red Sox hat on and everything. They say, we're going to sweep you. We're going to sweep you. It's over. It's over. It's over. And then it came back to game 5, Pedro versus Barry Zito. Manny Ramirez hit a home run. He still hasn't finished circling the bases. And the complete momentum was shifted. You've seen this before. The Red Sox in 99, when Martinez was hurt, they didn't have Martinez or Nomar for game 4, and somehow they won that series. And for me, the granddaddy of them all were when the Cubs took a 2-0 lead in the LCS against the Padres, and the entire planet Earth was rooting for the Cubs against San Diego. And San Diego was the epitome of we're just happy to be here. Rick Sutcliffe not only pitched a masterpiece in game 1, he hit a freaking homer. And so all they had to do was win 1 game in San Diego, and we were going to have the Cubs-Tigers playoff or World Series that everyone was drooling for. Tiger Stadium, Wrigley Field. And then the Padres took game 3. Okay. Steve Garvey hits the home run in game 4. And then the wild game, which includes the ball through Leon Durham's legs. Next thing you know, San Diego won. And it was such a foregone conclusion that the Cubs had complete control of that series that the only discussion was if they were going to play games 1 and 2 of the World Series in Wrigley Field, would they have to put in temporary lights? And they didn't want to. Would they have to play it in Comiskey Park? They didn't want to do that. So they came up with a novel solution, and that is play it in San Diego. I think no team that was ever up 2-0 was as star-studded as the 1982 California Angels. Reggie Jackson, Rod Carew, Fred Lynn, Don Baylor, Bobby Grich, Doug DeCinces, Tommy John pitching. They had so many stars on that team. The Brewers they obviously had terrific players, but they didn't have Raleigh fingers. And somehow, some way, after the Angels took a 2-0 lead, the Brewers won out. And going into that game 3 with some injuries and banged up Milwaukee team, that happens. Now, it doesn't always happen. Most of the time, the team up 2-0 winds up winning. But in every one of those instances I just said, the team that was up 2-0 had an aura of invincibility about them. It was a foregone conclusion that they were going to win. Now, take a look at the Yankees. They have Rodon, who has pitched well this year and pitched okay against Boston. And Shane Bieber, you don't know what the hell you're getting out of Shane Bieber. A few years ago, he was a Cy Young Award winner. He's pitched a couple pretty good games for Toronto. He's also pitched some garbage. And it's probably going to be a bullpen game for Toronto in game 4 because of the injuries to Barrios and Bassett and the ineffectiveness of Max Scherzer. Think about that. That Bieber was a acquisition at the trade deadline, and he was on the injured list. And Savage was playing in double-A ball at the trade deadline. So a banged-up former Cy Young Award winner and someone who was in single A at the beginning of the year are pitching games 2 and 3 for Toronto. The Yankees could beat Bieber, and they could win a bullpen game. And then it takes you back, and then you hand the ball back to Max Fried, and you cross your fingers that game 2 was a fluke. That's possible. Is it probable? No. But a game 3 victory could do a lot. And as for Philadelphia, look, it is a scary proposition for the Phillies to go back to Los Angeles down 0-2, and the defending champs just have to win a single game. I get it. Aaron Nola is pitching against Yamamoto. I get it. But Nola's had a couple of good games. And Yamamoto has had a couple of games where he's been vulnerable. And it's not over 162 games. It's just one game. And if they win that, then who knows? All those other teams I just mentioned thought they had it in the bag. And all of them wound up losing. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, or maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something that goes beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. Now, this is not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can perform and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours, and that's confidence all day, all night, even into the next day. And the process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and to prescribe your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com, RUGIET.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure you use our code so we know that we sent you. It's funny, when the Cubs took a 3-0 lead in the first inning against Milwaukee, I thought, oh man, we have ourselves a series here. This could be a series here. And then I realized what it was. They gave him a head start, kind of like on the game 1 where Bush hit a home run in the first inning, and the Cubs were like, oh man, are the Brewers rusty? And no, they just gave a little bit of a head start. And then this game, Suzuki hit a 3-run home run in the first. And it's like, okay, there we go. We could have ourselves a series here. And then Vaughn just counterpunched with a 3-run dinger of his own. And when he hit that home run, yeah, I know it's 3-3, but I was like, I don't think the Cubs are going to win this. And then Contreras hit the home run. And then Jackson Chourio, who got 3 hits in the first 2 innings of game 1, and that'd be lifted. And that made sense. It was like they're already up a ton. They're already up, I think, 8 or 9 runs at that point. And Chourio already got 3 hits. And he cramped up and said, do you know what? I think we can hold on. I think we can win this game. And he came back and showed, yeah, I'm okay. He got 2 hits, including a massive 3-run home run to straightaway center. And there you go. And it was a bullpen game for Milwaukee. But remember a couple months ago, I said that the Brewers should use Jacob Misiorowski as kind of a bulk reliever, kind of the way that Tim Lincecum was used in that way in 2012. If they're going to limit his innings, I said use him for the final 3 innings. Well, they didn't do that, but he did pitch 3 scoreless innings today and got the victory out of the bullpen. So Jacob Misiorowski, who started the season in the minor leagues, got to be in the All-Star game, now has pitched the Brewers to a 2-0 lead. And, in segment 2, I listed all of those teams that were down 2-0 and wound up losing. Well, if the Cubs wind up winning this game, then this will go right up there with the Yankees being the Indians in 2017, or the Padres being the Cubs in 1984, where one team just looked like, we've got this. And then suddenly they didn't. Suddenly they didn't. Well, yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers are now off to a commanding 2-0 lead. And we'll see. But right now, it's looking more and more like it may very well be a Milwaukee Brewers, Los Angeles Dodgers NLCS. But the Phillies have the talent to win 2 games or bring it back. And we're going to see what happens with the Cubs. Who Owned October, which is kind of the postseason version of Who Owned Baseball. They're the Woos, Who Owned October. Jackson Trio, Teoscar Hernandez, Jacob Misiorowski, and Blake Snell got full woos. Nick Castellanos, Seiya Suzuki, Jesus Luzardo, and Colin Ray, who pitched 3 1/3 shutout innings in relief to save the Cubs bullpen, they all got half woos. And leading baseball with 3 woos for this entire postseason is Teoscar Hernandez. With all the superstars on Los Angeles, Teoscar has been the one who's been getting big hit after big hit after big hit. And now the Dodgers are 4-0 in the postseason, and the Brewers are 2-0. And there you go. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, until a World Series champ is crowned. It may very well be Milwaukee. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night here on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And that's going to bring us up to the trivia question, which is, who was the first player to hit 3 home runs in a postseason game for the losing team? We all have seen the big home runs by Pujols or Reggie Jackson or whatnot, but this is the anniversary of this event. And he was the first player to hit 3 home runs in a postseason game, and the team went on to lose. Write the answer right down there below. Talking about, let me get rid of the trivia question before I go talking about Freddie Freeman saving the day, and Blake Trienan should go away. Teams have come back from the 0-2 hole, and Milwaukee sweeping Chicago, I think that's the goal. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan, apparently a poet, and you can call me Sully.